Welcome to this instructional video on the basic use of OneFile. My name is Mark Lakey. I'm an inspector with Warwickshire Police and I work in the Learning and Development Department. The L&D department have been using OneFile for a number of learning programs for some time now. We've been using it for student officers for many years and for the promotion candidates into the NPPF program for about 4 to 5 years. So I'm pretty good at this, and there are lots of people in the force who are pretty good at it, and there are lots of people in the force who are users of this, so please do tap into your peer network and colleagues who can support you. But the purpose of this video is to give you a basic orientation of some of the initial functions of OneFile. So what we'll do today is we'll look at some of the things that OneFile shows you when you first get there, and hopefully it will take away some of your anxieties. So the lesson plan for this video, which should be about a quarter of an hour long, I'm going to show you how to log in from scratch. I'll give you an orientation, the homepage dashboard. I'll introduce you to the help button and point out some of the OneFile support that's available to you. I'll show you the sidebar shortcuts and tell you how they work. I'll show you messages. I'll introduce you to the resources folder where there's a great deal of guidance and supporting documentation and user guides and how-tos that will be really useful to you as a Warwickshire officer or a Warwickshire Police member of staff to assist you as you start to use OneFile to present your evidence for your portfolio and your learning programme. And then lastly, I'll show you how to complete the admin around doing a task. The reason for that is because the OneFile has been updated recently and the tasks require a little bit more admin to show that they're complete, but I'll be able to get you past that without too much fuss at all. Okay, so starting at the beginning then, if we look in a search engine for OneFile login, you see it's popped out at the top of mine because I've typed it so many times. It will take you to a link here, the login onefile.co.uk link, and it brings you to their external page. You'll need a username and password to get in. You'll be provided with these when you're registered on your qualification. The centre manager will issue those to you. It's likely to start with that you'll use your Warwickshire PNN address, but OneFile may issue you with a shortened username for convenience, and the initial password that you're given can be changed to something more memorable that you can use from there on in. So I'll log in here now, and it takes you to the page you're inside, but it asks you which account you want to open. You're probably only going to have one out, your learner account. These ones here are my practice accounts that I use for training. So I'll log into my practice account here, and the first thing is you're on the portfolio dashboard. This is the home page, the portfolio dashboard, and at the top, let me just get one of those. At the top here is the qualification that you're currently on. So this will probably be a level 4 certificate in police first line management if you're a sergeant on the NPPF, level 5 if you're an inspector, or it could be one of the other learning programs that we're starting to use OneFile for. You don't need to do anything with that, it would be already pre-populated. So if we look around the screen, here, overall target progress, this is it's done in the format of a speedometer, and it shows you here in this little number how much progress you've got. If you click on it, it will actually take you to another page where you'll get some detailed progress indicators. But for now, on the front page, it will just show you how much of the portfolio you've actually completed, and you'll be graded red, amber and green depending on whether you're on target to complete in your appropriate time scale. Next here is the calendar. So this will be where things that are planned between you and your assessor or activities that you need to complete will appear. It works very much like an Outlook calendar. There's no activity on this one at the moment, and if you press into view calendar, it will take you into looking at the month by month or activity by activity. It's quite a straightforward feature. Okay, let's just click that off a second, and then go down here. So in this area here, what we've got is a number of different icons, as you can see. Usually they are white, but these two here, the tasks and the messages, they're highlighted in yellow. OneFile has a function that runs throughout it whereby if there is something you need to attend to, something you need to do, or somewhere it wants to draw your attention, it will highlight it automatically in yellow. And these two have been highlighted no doubt because I've got 5 new tasks to do and I've got 1 unread message. These have probably arrived since I last logged in. So these are the icons. You probably won't use courses or witness status. You're probably going to stick to this area here: portfolio, evidence, tasks, messages and resources. Okay, let's just click that off. Below, if I open up this bar here, there's a bit of administration, who the assessment team are, who your assessor is, that kind of thing. You don't really need to do much with that. And then other options down here. This is an area whereby you can update your profile, which is something you'll need to do as part of your induction tasks. It will ask you to do a series of, your assessor will ask you to do a series of tasks that will help you practice using the basic functions of OneFile. So for example, it's going to ask you to upload a profile picture. You'll see mine up here is a learner, and that's because it's my learner practice account. You can upload a picture of yourself, or you can upload a different icon. And the reason that you do that is because it gets you used to uploading items, documents, pictures, that kind of stuff to OneFile, which is something you'll do as you gather evidence of your portfolio. The next option is display settings there. You can change the colour scheme of OneFile if you have a particular preference, but where it's most useful for is if you have dyslexia or other visual requirements. There are some dyslexia friendly settings. You can change the text size, that kind of things. So you can make it personalised to your preferences. Email preferences here. This is something that's part of the induction tasks again, so that you get notified when anything happens on OneFile, and you can have a look at my activity, which is your own activity, how much you've used OneFile. There's a list of user guides here, but as you'll see when I turn to help in a minute, the user guides are available in various different places. Okay, so that's a quick whiz round your portfolio dashboard. So I'm just going to tidy it up because I've only got a small screen. I'm going to get rid of the assessment team and the other options. So I've just got my portfolio here. Okay, in the top right corner, you'll see here there's a question mark in a blue circle. That is the help button, and it's a contextual help. So the help that it will offer you will depend on where you are. So here we are on the home screen, and it will offer us a bunch of guides. If we click on it, it will offer us a bunch of, do you want to help creating an assessment? Do you want to look at the learner induction guide? Do you want to look at the learner induction video? Or do you want to search all the user guides? That's the one you get from the home page. If you were in a different area, for example, tasks or assessments, the help that it would offer you would be more tailored to that particular area of activity. So it's really, really useful. It appears on every page in the top right corner. I would say, though, that here, that the induction video is probably worth watching, but it's a generic one from OneFile. It isn't specific to the uses that we use OneFile for in Warwickshire Police. And similarly, the user guides that are on OneFile again are generic and comprehensive, so they can be really, really useful. But the stuff that we put in our resources for you is specific, particularly to the people on the NPPF and the other learning programs. So just be mindful of that. But there you go. That's contextual help available wherever you are within the portfolio. Okay, so as well as being able to open and close the grey to tidy up your screen, you can also open and close this sidebar here. The black column on the far left hand side is a bunch of shortcuts that OneFile thinks you'll most commonly use. So for example, you can look at your tasks, you can look at your assessments, you can read your messages, you can look at your progress, and very importantly, you can look at the resources. Okay, each one of these items here does appear within OneFile itself. This is just a shortcut, but you're probably going to use these most frequently, so they may well be the only things that you do use. So, one useful feature of the sidebar is you can use it by right-clicking on it. You can open in a new tab. Now, This is quite useful when you perhaps are writing an assessment in one tab, but you want to look at something else in another tab. That's the first use for this sort of thing. I find it particularly useful to do this if the internet connection is slow, for example at work, or if the virtual desktop is a bit wobbly. But if the virtual desktop is a bit wobbly, I'll just remind you that you can actually access OneFile from any internet connected device. It's not a police owned system, it's a web cloud type application, and so you can access it from anywhere. I prefer to access it on my own computer using broadband at home rather than through the virtual desktop for stability and speed issues. Okay. So we've covered logging in, we've covered the homepage dashboard, I've shown you where the help button is, we've looked at the sidebar shortcuts, and now we look at messages. Messages is a function here that within the NPPF certainly, and perhaps in other areas, it's not widely used because we've got email at work and other forms of communication. The messages function on here isn't particularly well used. So you'll see that you can have an inbox, you can compose a message using new message, and you can look at your outbox. The people that you can send messages to will be the people within your area of work for OneFile. So it's probably going to be your assessor, any people that you've got on there as specialist witnesses, the IQA, things like that. So you can send individual messages. It's good for keeping an audit trail that's specific to OneFile. However, most messages are sent within the assessments and within the plans and within the feedback. And I'll show you those in a later video when we talk about those particular elements of OneFile, because they're more specialist. This video is just a basic induction orientation. So, resources. This is a practice account, so it doesn't have too many resources here, but resources are available, as you can see, here on the sidebar and here on the main part of the portfolio. So if you go to resources, what you'll find is there'll be a bunch of folders. Let's click on it here. You'll get a bunch of folders with information that's relevant to you. The appeals procedure and the malpractice procedure are in the real one that you're using. Induction materials and tasks are there. And then there'll be folders specific to your particular program of learning. And there are also generic how-to user guides. These are going to be really, really useful to you, and they'll provide invaluable assistance, particularly for the NPPF candidates. Within the level 5 NPPF candidates folder, for example, is how to create reflective logs, how to create assessments, how to approach UPK as an area of work, and there are also individual guides about how to use UPK. UPK, in case you don't know, is the area of learning that relates to your underpinning knowledge. It's your knowledge and understanding. So some people see it as the theory, some people see it as the academic side. This is the bit where you write assessments. So in NPPF level 5, there are how-to guides for each of the UPKs, as well as generic tips, guidance and supporting materials for both practical performance evidence and for the academic evidence. So please don't neglect what's in resources, because it will make your life a lot easier. Okay, so if we go home again. Now, I won't cover tasks and assessments in details at this stage, because I'm going to do tasks, assessments and plans in a separate video, otherwise it will be a bit much. But the difference between tasks and assessment. Tasks is an area where you are required to do something, and it can be a broad range of things. It could be that there's a piece of work that's been resubmitted that you need to look at again. It could be that there's a plan for some assessment activity to sign. It could be that you've been asked to do a particular activity, such as reading around a subject or performing some kind of other activity that's going to be on your portfolio. So it's quite a broad spectrum of things that you might want to do. And that differs from assessments, which is here, because assessments is just your evidence. These are just the things that you're going to use as your evidence. So tasks and assessment are different. You will sometimes find assessments appear in here. For example, if we look at these tasks here, we'll see that this task actually says, please sign the assessment. And this one here is an assessment that's been sent back from the assessor to the candidate. So tasks will include assessments, but assessments won't include tasks, if that makes sense. Okay, so what is a task then? A task is when you have to perform some activity, probably on your own. It won't be assessment work with your assessor. It will be when you've been asked to do something. So here, the task that I've got is create a learner video. So I click open the task. Wait for it to load. Okay, and my task is, please create a learner video for lesson 1 of using OneFile. So you see it here. Okay, please create a learner video. Well, I've done that, so it's not a task I need to do anymore because I've completed it. So the activity is done. But what I need to do is tell OneFile that I've done it, and OneFile will do that as part of a learning journal. Now, in the previous version of OneFile, you just ticked a box to say that you've done it. But what OneFile does on this new version is it creates a learning journal, so you can see all the tasks and all the activities that you've done. So here's my task. Please create a learner video. And in order to do that, I have to create it. I have to create it, which is here. The button, as you can see, is grayed out, so it's not ready to be created yet. What I need to do for this is enter some details. I need to enter a title. I need to tell it the date that I did it, the time that I started. Let's say I started at 9 o'clock this morning, and it took me 1 hour. Okay. What kind of activity was it? I need to select this category here on the right hand side. So it was an independent learning activity. So I did that as an independent learning activity. Okay, so let's. I did a different task earlier that obviously coincided with that. So let's say at 11 o'clock. It's important to know that OneFile will recognise if you've done 2 different activities at the same time, so you need to be accurate or careful with the times. So independent learning activity. I created my video. In fact, I'm doing it now, aren't I? And the video is now in progress. So I've quite simply done this. Now that I've populated the time that I've did it, a title, what I've done, you'll see that the create button here has now gone blue here. And that means I can now create that as a done task. So create that. Okay, so it's now just completed. When I go back to my tasks, that one will have disappeared. And if you look below, you'll see all the other tasks that I've done. And lo and behold, look, at 9 o'clock this morning, I did indeed do a different task, and OneFile is caught me out and says you can't have done both of those things at the same time. Okay. So that's how to complete a task. And when you go back to your tasks, forgive me, when you go back to your tasks here, you'll see that that's now gone. Okay, so that is your basic orientation of OneFile. The first time that you log on, the first time you have a play around with it, you can get in, you know what's on the dashboard, you know where to find the help button, you know how the sidebar opens and closes, and then you know that these things here are shortcuts to other areas of OneFile. You can access your messages and communicate with your assessor. You can access the supporting and guidance materials in resources, and if you're given some tasks to do, you know how to complete the admin to make the tasks disappear from your list of tasks once you've done the activity. Okay, I hope you found this video useful. I will do another video shortly, when I'll be looking at things like assessments, how to create them yourself, how to receive them from your assessor, and how to do the admin on those, and also about accepting plans.